Hello. We're going to talk a little bit more about methods, but now we're going to talk about a method that returns a Boolean. It returns like a true or a false. Now, we've done a lot of returning values that were, returning a number or returning a string, but it's really valuable to have methods that return like a true or a false, especially when it takes a lot of work to figure out whether the thing is true or false. So I'm going to start with a simple example. You probably wouldn't need a method for this, but suppose you had, you just wanted to figure out if the number was positive or not. Well, we could define a function called positive. Now, we're going to need a number. Okay, so number. So all we want this to do, we want this to return true if the number is positive and false if it's not positive. So there's two ways to write this. There's kind of an easy way and a hard way. So I'm going to start with the hard way, and then I'm going to simplify it just a little bit, okay? So the hard way to write it would be this. If number is greater than 0, return true. Else, return false. And there's nothing wrong necessarily with coding it this way, but there's a much easier way to code this method. But what this method will do is if you call it, for example, if you call positive and you call positive 7, this is going to return true. Okay, it's not going to print true, it's just going to return true. If you call positive 0, it's going to return false. And if you call positive -3, it's going to also return false. So all it's doing is determining whether the number is positive or isn't positive. Okay. You could also shove this in a condition for like an if statement. So you could say, if it's positive, do something. And again, here we didn't really need this because really all we're saying is if number is greater than 0, do the thing, okay? So, but when you have a more complicated Boolean that you're dealing with, Boolean statement that you're dealing with, it's really nice to have it defined somewhere else so that you can just do something easy the rest of the time. Now, I promised I'd tell you an easier way to write this. So here is the easier way to write this. Really elegant, really simple. Because what happens is number greater than 0, if it's positive, that value will be true. So it will return true. If the number isn't greater than 0, then this will be false, and it will return false. So this is kind of the more accepted, more elegant way of writing a function like this. Now, I'm going to show you an example where this would be more useful, where it's something more complicated, where you really, really, really wouldn't want to rewrite this condition over and over and over. So, what I have here is a button on a screen. Imagine you're dragging your mouse around, or this could even be your finger on a phone, okay? But you've got your cursor on the screen, And all you want to do in this program is determine whether they've clicked the button. Because if they've clicked the button, you want to do something, okay? Well, basically, you need to check for a couple of things. So first of all, you need to check whether the pointer, okay, and remember, this is really what we're looking at, the very tip of this pointer. We want to see whether the tip of this pointer is located within the button. Now, that's actually a mathematical task, okay? So if this x is 30, if this x is 40, in order for our point to be within the button, then the x has to be greater than or equal to 30, less than or equal to 40. And then it's going to be considered inside the button, okay? Or at least left and right wise. But it also can't be too high or too low. So it has to be within these two y's. By the way, you'll notice whenever you do locations in programming, usually y actually starts from 0 at the top to bigger numbers going down, and it doesn't have any negative values, okay? So this is 80, this is 90. So if you want your value to be in between here, we have to say that y is greater than or equal to 80, and it's less than or equal to 90. Now, both of these things have to be true in order to be inside the button. And on top of that, you don't want, when they hover over inside here, to act like they've clicked the button, because they have to click their mouse too. So we also have to see if clicked is true, okay? So these three things all have to be true in order to say that we've clicked the button. So what we do, we define a method. We say, define button clicked. And this is going to input three things. We need the x value of the cursor. We need the y value of the cursor, our little mouse or pointer. And we need to know whether they've clicked or not. So what we do is we're going to return true if this, this, and this are true. So we're going to return x greater than or equal to 30, less than or equal to 40, and 80 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 90, and clicked. Now clicked is going to be a Boolean. So if clicked is true, that means they've clicked. If clicked is false, that means they haven't. So all three of these things have to be true. Now, the reason we did all this is so that afterwards we could just say if button clicked, and we have to give our three parameters here. So maybe, I don't know, 27, 85, and true. If the button was clicked, then we will do something. And in this case, what it'll do is it'll check these three things. So we have clicked. It is our y is between 80 and 90, but 27 is not between 30 and 40. So we'll say that they have not clicked the button. So this whole thing right here will return false. So we won't do the thing. So what these methods do, again, is they spit out a Boolean, and we can use them in our if statements. So this is going to be a tool that we use a lot. Good luck.